thunder and wind, mountain and lake. Through these constitutive forms flow the cycles of transformation that constitute everyone and everything we see. So now we move from four pictures, but 5 essences, 4 variations, but 5 essences into 8 fields of development of constituting us. And ultimately, somehow I'm going to be wedding these to our embryonic development, but not tonight, because this is still, I'm still feeling the wrinkling of each of the singing, right? So again, the 8 are from the Bhagavad, as we all know, heaven and earth, water and fire, thunder and wind, mountain and lake. So heaven and earth establish our basic place in the cosmos. Heaven is above, the source of weather, the seasons, light and warmth, as well as the sun, moon, and stars by which we measure time. Earth provides us with a place to live, food to eat, all the riches of the precious minerals, oil, clay, salt, and thousands of other benefits which constitute us. We live between heaven and earth, and all our needs are fulfilled by them. There is nothing we can manufacture for ourselves without first being gifted by heaven and earth. Everything we need is given to us. We, in our naked softness, can do nothing without heaven and earth. But yet, we try to place ourselves above the power of heaven constantly. So water and fire benefit us in ways just as fundamental. Water and fire are metaphors for the way energy works. Water is chilling, downward, flowing. Fire is blazing, upward and outward shooting. Water can also be a symbol of danger, bogs and quicksand. Fire tends to be the symbol for illumination, enlightenment, and brightness. Thunder represents the arousing force of growth. A leader calling people to action is compared to thunder. It's also the force of sound itself. It represents the overcoming of the inertia. So thunder is very yang, comes out of Lightning Man and Whirlwind Man both. Wind also represents movement, but in a very different mode. Thunder is arousing and forceful. Wind is gentle and steady most of the time until Whirlwind Man decided to create a tornado or a hurricane. Thunder explodes with great impact. Wind is through permeation. Thunder expands rapidly. Wind spreads, seeps, interweaves, penetrates. So the symbol of wind is also associated with wood. So here we're getting into the elements that constitute us also. The steadily growing tree with its slowly spreading roots and leaves carries the idea of the gentleness of wind. The mountain represents stoppage, consolidation, and solidarity. Lake is level and liquid. The mountain is a consolidation of rock, the lake pools. They symbolize these aspects of human interaction. So where mountain represents solitary, lake represents gathering. Where the mountain is mediator or the person isolated in stubbornness, lake is the marketplace and festival ground. It's the delight of friendship. These 8 trigrams from the Tao, from the I Ching, combine to direct our environment, constitute us, model how energy moves, and conceptualize the kinds of growth and address the extremes of social interaction. So let's talk a little bit more about them. Heaven. From the earliest times, we have looked to heaven as the origin of all things outside ourselves. We regard it as the source of mysteries and see the home of gods in its unlimited vastness. It has always been this way and probably will always be so. Every generation before us has measured time by heaven. While we think we have better methods of navigation and accuracy today, our Clocks, our maps, our calendars, our nautical navigation, and astronomical calculations all still depend on heaven, because heaven provides the context for our lives. Nothing we have accomplished in our civilization alters the seasons. Nothing changes the solstices and the equinoxes. The yang extreme, the yin, yang, the yin, the yang yin, yang yang, and yang yin, and yin extreme, right? Nothing changes that. Those, if we're looking for security, those are securities. They will always be. In an infinite universe, there can be no absolute truth, yet that is absolute truth. There will always be equinoxes and solstices because of the movement of yin and yang.
Wow,
Nothing we have,
That's pretty deep.
Sorry. Yeah.
Totally captivating.
Nothing we have made can eliminate the need to conform to day and night, right? Nothing. Especially if you live in Alaska or the South Pole. Or the need to make plans with the weather and time of year in mind. Nothing. If you need, we are all looking for security. These are our securities. These are the only sure security is these changes. Heaven is time and the conditions that affect us. Heaven creates time and circumstances, and we must accept that. At the same time, we must find heaven, the essences of heaven in ourselves. We create with what heaven, or the 5 essences, gives us, and in so doing, we become heaven itself. Mother Earth can do something that no other power can do. She can take the dead and make life again. It's not just the works of humans that depend on Earth. All of nature does too. There is literally nothing you can hold, eat, or live in that is not connected to the Earth. The virtues that she inspires are numerous, but the most prominent are acceptance, support, receptivity, modesty, perseverance. The greatest she exemplifies is patience. She proceeds on a time span unique to herself. By geological time, the struggles of humans are momentary flickers in her movement. By Earth time, all geology has occurred as rapidly as the flashes of a shamaness's many-colored robe. Heaven may provide the days and seasons, but Earth teaches us how to make use of that time. She teaches, she's our walking stick. She supports us in being patient, nurturing, supportive, and modest. Water. There's lots of meanings with water, but which are like a pentatonic chord, the totality of the scale being a significance. At its root, water means a pit in the earth. One meaning could be water splashing over rocks in a ravine. To drink, we must climb down into a dark, slippery pit. The next note in the chord is how water remains uncompromised by danger. So it symbolizes also being true to oneself. It also represents the downward flow, darkness, cold, liquidity. It also shows eternal integrity. Whether it's a single drop or a vast ocean, ice or steam, water will always reform itself into its purest state. The third note of this pentatonic chord of water is remembering that all life evolved from water. The fourth note is that water can help us heal. And the fifth note is where we examine the virtues of water worth emulating. Noble persons seek to be as fearless as water. They spread their personalities instead of holding rigidly to one doctrine. They actually know that their personality is not their true self, their essential self, their essence self. So they can adapt as quickly as water to any circumstance, and water fills any void, yet it retains its integrity. So as water was the beginning of life, fire is the beginning of civilization. Every time we work with a force of nature, we must be careful that it does not destroy us. Water can drown us and flood our fields. Fire can burn us, blast our homes, and incinerate our forests. Fire and water can both be channeled, but they cannot be tamed. Grandfather, Sun, and our star sisters and brothers are all orbs of fire, especially grandfather, elder brother, Sun. Fire represents brilliance, insight, and intelligence. It also symbolizes the heart and the creative, intuitive powers that can emanate from it. Light can scatter, it can be fractured into different colors, and our concentration can flicker in the same way, but concentrated light is an incredibly powerful force, as we see in laser beams, right? That's concentrated fire. Thunder. Every song starts with a beat. Same with Ishmukane, Nukua, and Namaru as they started singing in Whirlwind Man, great grandfather Milky Way, great grandfather Sun. Whether it's soft or dramatically martial, the first note is arousing from silence. Thunder reminds us that change begins from sudden initiative. It takes great force to break inertia. Thunder awes us and calls us to reverence. It indicates the beginning of change. Changes are cyclical, and all cycles have some sort of a beginning. It's not a dramatic, this totally stopped and this started. It's a, what did I say? It's a spectrum. It's a multi-dimensional spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Thunder comes each year, and each storm is familiar because we have experienced storms before. Their trembling registers as muscle memory in our very limbs. At the same time, yet, each storm is different, and the havoc it may cause, as well as the reactions it stirs, will vary. Each season occurs in perfect order, yet each season is new in itself. And then with thunder, we also have lightning, which represents the metal of the 5 elements. So whirlwind man, wind. Think of a weaving loom with 4 hands, implying that a weaver works twice as fast as one with 2 hands. The fingers touch every part of the fabric, pulling it into a magnificent design. This is the idea of wind. It can be as soft as cloth, weaving in and out of spaces. It penetrates as threads penetrate a body of fabric. Where thunder is shocking and arousing, wind is gentle influence. It transforms from an ongoing and interweaving pattern. Yet wind, again, concentrated and amplified, can erode cliffs and uproot trees and fly our houses away in our cars and everything. And it also represents wood, as the roots of wood weave into the earth. Wind could be seen as the warp on the loom and trees as the weft. Mountain. How do mountains constitute us? Well, they're unmoving, a lofty upthrusting of rock separating one plane from another. Its space is wide, occupying hundreds of square miles, many times, while its peak is so high that the trees die from the altitude and can grow no higher, leaving only ice and snow at the top. The mountain as supreme barrier symbolizes limits and stillness, cessation, stopping, resting. Sometimes it may mean a walling off of movement. Other times it might mean a culmination or solidification of movement, the outward flow of yang energy, the manifestation, right? The mountain is like a volcano rising from the folding of the earth's crust. The mountain is a petrification of force. It's a force frozen in time, so to speak. So lake, in contrast to the mountain as concentration, culminating in solidity, the lake is concentration through pooling. Where the mountain is proud and upthrusting with the danger of excessive isolation, the lake is gathering through lowness. It is where waters run together. Wherever water forms a lake, life springs from it. So lakes are yin, very yin, while the mountain is yang. So in this Bagua, and I hope to explore it more. That's all I've been able to find about it so far. To be able to explain this, to clarify better how this constitutes us, but it does.
No, it's like you're playing the masterpiece of all readings, of all books, of all stories. I'm just totally blown away, without words. That's so amazing. And you say you're sharing it as it's coming, as it's flowing through you, and you can almost perceive that, and it's so amazing. So, may I, where's this coming from? I mean, is this is the teaching? This, what would you call this? Like a story, a creation story,
A story of the old ones, a God story, so to speak, if you want to use the word God, because we're describing, like I said at the beginning, science discovered that there is a God. This is the story of God. Only we are kind of went from 1 to 2 to 3, like the spiral, like the golden spiral, because that golden spiral is everything. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3, and then plus 2 is 5. So we have the 5 essences in the yin and yang cycle of movement, and then we evolve out to 8, and then we add 5 more, and we come to 13. So after the Bagua, it seems like we're reducing because we're adding 5 elements and seasons, 5 elements in the 5 seasons.
Yeah.
Which will also reflect the 5 essences that started the whole movement. But yet, when you add 5 to 8, you now are at 13.
Yeah. Well, I would say this is a teaching of the major arcana of not the. So this is not a technical knowledge. Rather, this knowledge that is descriptive of the greater and the whole, and like such,
Yeah.
I think it's the most prized type of knowledge, and at the same time, it's somehow in this world we're living in the most, I could imagine somebody watching this and just, oh, this is so beautiful, but they wouldn't find a way to make sense of it because it's so far out from this other thing, this other story we're always hearing everywhere else. And then you turn the TV on, that's the story in there, which is the story of material realization. Material, it's all about how the knowledge of this technical thing and this and this and this. And there's no knowledge of the whole. There's no story of the whole.
Right.
There's no telling of what constitutes our soul, our
Right.
the meaning that our emotions, that makes us not just the things we buy, but that makes us humans, that makes us sentient beings, that makes us beings that uh, channel this thing that we can't describe materially, which is love. And yet it's such a forgotten story, such a untold story, such a badly told story that the religions try to profit from into telling some kind of a story, but that's been modified to their advantage. So I think this story. I mean, I've never really been so blown away by hearing like a description, because it's beyond. It's not just the story. It's also, I felt it as a description, a definition, a, it's at the same time so scientific, right? That's such an amazing thing. And man, do I feel bad because we missed a few minutes at the beginning where I you started talking and I thought we were recording, and we weren't. So I had to go back. Oh man, and we missed a good chunk there. Um,
Oh man.
and yeah, and then I didn't want to interrupt and say, hey, wait a minute.
Let's
So, but then,
start all over again.
well, and then you're saying, it's coming to you and as it's flowing, and there's a lot more coming. And I'm like, when you said this, this we're going to see in a few weeks, or this other section, or this other principle, and just the way you're ensembling this, it's like an orchestra. It's really amazing, amazing thing, amazing. Uh, and don't stop there. I would say don't stop. Don't.
Right.
Maybe that's how it is. I mean, that's the true nature, where the story just keeps going, and the story keeps going.
It will. Each branch will continue to going. So, and I started with the whole because, as like David Bohm said, nothing can be understood in isolation. Everything has to be seen as part of a unified whole. So we have to stop. There's people that talk about solar system, but nobody's ever pushed us further out into the Milky Way, and nobody's gone before that. We have to see the whole matrix, start with the galaxy, or outside beyond the galaxy, with Ishmukane, Nukua, and Amaru, the three foundational essences that make you who you are, essential. Aloha, Munai, and Aloha, Aini. Aloha, Munai is both love. I wish I could use both words all the time. Aloha, Munai, Aini, Tao. Living. The living is the yang part, the external manifestation, the will and the intention and the strength. Right? So that we have to understand that, and that flows through the galaxy, through great Milky Way galaxy, into our solar system, grandfather, elder, brother, son. Then we can start to understand the smallness of our planet and the smallness of us. That is the manifestation of that huge whole. But that huge whole has to, kind of like a transformer, has to reduce itself. Otherwise, it would annihilate us just like that, because there's so much power, right?
Right. And Nick, it takes me into thinking about the. Have you heard of the biocentric theory? The the theory that everything was created in order to make life, for so that life can thrive. So it's like life creates its own environment in
Right.
creation, so that it can come into
Yeah.
existence. So we're not in a random path in a kind of 3D universe where we're just a section, just a one of among a billionth star roaming around some dark corner of the cluster of galaxies. Um, Rather, we are the center. Everything was created around us so that life could thrive.
Right.
And life is the one that's kind of like the awareness, the consciousness that is making all the systems work, and have Jupiter there suck up the meteorites and everything. We know that it's just so amazingly random, non. It's really in tuned so that we can have this thing we call biological life, right?
Right. Right.
And then, so you're
Yeah.
saying that's the yang manifestation, and the way you went on with the yin and the yang and how that constitutes everything. And I mean, I was just I didn't know you were reading a like a some sacred book or Bible or some type of Tao wisdom kind of thing, but because it was just so engaging, so profound, so, to me, so interesting, so descriptive, so constituting, so healing. I mean, just being able to hear that, and it's like, whoa, now finally someone's putting into words this that is, that is what really constitutes us, or at least constitutes me, because I don't identify with this transhuman, uh,
Right.
you know, mental creation they've created, and that everybody's sucked into. It's just the no the non-life, the life of the non-life, of the non-living,
Right.
the system of the
Right.
non-living. Um, so that's so amazing, Ingrid, and yeah, I'm speechless. I mean, I'm able to say something, but at the same time, I'm just totally speechless, and I'm grateful with what I've just heard, and so that then I would ask you, when do we continue? Are you going to continue on this? Where's this story going now?
Next week, we'll continue with Constitution into the five elements. We'll take, I know we've talked about each element in separation. We're just going to kind of bring them together as a Constitution. This is kind of a whole overview, right? So we'll talk more about the elements. And every week now that we've introduced you to the three forces, the three essences, not forces, the essences, Ishmukane, Aini, Amaru, Aloha, and Nukua Dao. We are going to finish each week with words from them.
Okay. Yeah, you said
For me.
you're gonna have some sacred, every show where you're gonna finish with some sacred ancient words or sayings from our elders. So you're gonna go ahead with that?
Yep. So,
Okay. Here we go.
our dear blue heron medicine woman, we want you to sink into understanding this. As has been written 1,000 times, the ultimate nature of essential reality cannot be communicated in words. Essential reality manifests in pure essential forms of consciousness, our pure essential forms of consciousness, and your experience. Through the aspects we sing daily, Aini, peace, Aloha, Munai, love, Tao, the formation of the 10,000 things, which is joyous creativity, pleasurable creativity, and then strength and will, the strength and the will to bring this to form. So experiencing these aspects of us in you is palpable and possible. Essence means the aspect of something most true, real, or substantial. It is the essence of something that makes it what it is. Most of you humans have rarely, if ever, recognized essence until COVID, when you heard the words essential workers and it triggered some huge shift in you. So we'll start, since most of you humans have never really heard of essence, we'll start with what you humans most commonly feel and talk about, which is the quality of presence. You are told by spiritual gurus to be fully present, and yet there is no understanding of what this term present or presence actually means and signifies. What is the condition that warrants you saying, I am present? We'd like you to analyze the experiences of presence with an aesthetic experience. So let's talk about your drive through Mississippi the other day, dearest woman named Ingrid. As you saw the beautiful redbud trees with their purple, beautiful flowers contrasted against the green grass, your sight became clearer. Did you happen to notice that you seemed to be in your seeing? Did you happen to notice that there seemed to be more of you seeing and appreciating the beauty? If you did, in the experience, you were meeting your perceptions halfway. Something in you was participating in the experience. That something is not a memory or past associations with redbuds in bloom. And your greater awareness of the beauty actually enhanced the presence of the redbuds in bloom. If you then felt the presence of your redbud sisters and brothers, your own presence was enhanced. So in experiences like that, you might say, I seem to be more here. Or you might stop your feeding time, evening feeding routine, to be more here with the sunset. Or you might stop your meditation time in the morning to be more here with the sunrise. So what does that more here term mean? We know that you experience, some of you all humans experience some of your human relatives as having more presence or being an imposing presence. You can sense presence at times of intense and deep emotions when you are not controlling or inhibiting it, when you are involved wholeheartedly in the feeling, totally immersed in it in a free and spontaneous way without judgment or holding back. You know what we mean here, Ingrid. As you experienced presence last summer, your friend experienced your presence when you were so ecstatically, deeply emotional about raining that you danced with us in all our directions, being so joyously grateful that he was swept up in it also, contrary to his rigid religious beliefs that later said that was nonsense. But yet your presence was so great, Ingrid, that it swept him away also. You can also feel all these constituting elements you just talked about as presence. You can also see presence in the great feats accomplished by people in dangerous, stressful situations. And presence is the same thing as essence. We're just talking about it as presence right now, since that's the word we use most often. Zen Buddhism accomplishes the experience of presence by giving the disciple a koan, a phrase or question that cannot be understood by the discursive mind. The human will go over it in all ways possible until he or she reaches a mental and emotional exhaustion. And if he or she is ready and the situation is right, that's a moment of known as satori, wordless realization bubbling up, a moment of deep realization. That is the experience of presence, or the experience of essence of us. This presence is also a self-remembering. When you self-remember, you become an actual palpable presence beyond your words, ideas, and actions. It is simply when what is real in you that has been forgotten is now remembered into yourself. Like a Lego toy that's been taken apart and remembered, put back together.
Yeah. As in pieces.
So now when you say, what?
Members as in pieces, remembered.
Yes. Yeah.
Parts of the whole.
Parts brought back into wholeness. Yeah. So now when you say I am present or I am essence, you know that you are saying what is real in me is here. I am saying I am present is also the conscious experience of saying I exist. It is your awareness of being a living presence existing or being. It is not simply the awareness of your many thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So now that we've talked about presence, we'll tell you, dear ones, that your presence is also your essence, and it is that part of you that you were born with that made the sound of your creation. Your essence is not the product of your upbringing or education. Your essence or presence is the organ of your perception. Essence is the experience. So when presence is the presence of your essence, when you simply say, I am, you can feel a definiteness, a certainty of being in us and us in you. Yet you as humans have all forgotten that your true nature is essence. However, once you say yes to re-remembering it, in time it becomes this deep and abiding presence in you. So we want to leave you tonight with this wisdom. Your essence or presence is not a thought or an idea you have about yourself. Your essence is an embodied presence, an ontological actuality.
Wow.
So your essential self, your essentialness is an ontological actuality.
Mm-hmm. It's real. Yeah.
Very real.
Yet it's foreign because we are sequestered from we're hostage of our own essence because we've
Well,
been
we're hostage of our personality. And
no, I would say
we'll start.
like the system,
We'll
takes us hostage, and they teach us not to know or to develop our essence, to know, to have, our own essence of being. Rather, we're given these tags and these archetypes of being and these titles and all that, and that's kind of like a prison that takes us away from our essence. You start breaking that prison, which is in many ways mental. Then you start hearing this type of words and stories and the wisdom that it's, and you say it yourself, Ingrid, it's out there. You're not the owner of it, because it's out there. As soon as you're willing to listen to it, you'll find it. It'll come. It's around there. It's not obviously like on mainstream TV or something. It's not that. It's not completely hidden, but it's not also not being shoved at you as everything else is. You have to search for it. You have to kind of want to find it and try to find it. But it's out there.
Right,
it's not really like
it's
hidden.
not out there. It's in here.
And that's the other thing, right? It's in you, and you're part of it. And what a powerful reminder. Powerful reminder. Yeah, what a powerful session we had here, and what powerful words and channeling I believe this is, and I just hope that it gets to the people that are looking for it. And
well,
I think
while
it
it
will.
seems like we may not have listeners or followers or likes or something, just by the fact of us holding this space every Wednesday night, we're creating whirlwind men, the halo of wind. That's another term he's let me know is so the how, if you look at halo of wind, it is the how, which is the will to right, the wind makes the how.
Right. No, and
It either removes things or blows them in.
Yeah. No, and I believe that I mean, it's out there. It's, you know, it's this is a great effort of having this, you know, putting this together so that it's out there for the search for whoever wants to find it, and some people do find it and will find it, and I bet they're gonna have a blast when, um, or whoever has already, you know, heard these stories. These last, especially these last sessions, have been amazing with amazing words and amazing stories. I don't even know what to call them, because it's just like they're so whole. They're not just a story. They're not just a description. They're not just you know, a a piece of advice or teaching. It's like everything. It's everything in there. Oh, it's pretty cool.
Right.
So so we're gonna continue with Constitution on next week.
Yeah, we're going to continue with Constitution next week.
Alrighty.
And some more words about essence from the old ones.
Alrighty. So let's invite people. 7:30 next week. 7:30. That's the time that we're gonna be having this Central Standard Time. And please, if you can help getting this information to somebody you think you might like it, that would be very helpful. And thank also all of our viewers, and thank you, Ingrid. So if you're okay with it, I'll stop the live stream.
Yep.